Hello, Thrivers. Welcome to Monday Motivation. Today we're talking about trust the process. I'm so glad you're here today. Have you ever felt like you were doing all the right things, taking the steps, showing up for yourself, trying to stay positive and even when you don't feel that way? Trying to make wise choices, trying to trust your faith to help you get through, trying to care for your body, your mind, and your spirit. And yet this journey still felt longer than expected, like it was never going to end. I sure remember that feeling. I remember wishing I could get to the end and knowing, now looking back, I know that was not the right wish to make. So maybe you have remembered those thoughts or you're in the midst of it right now. Maybe you thought you would be further along by now, further along in your healing, your rebuilding, finding clarity for your life and feeling peaceful again. When the process takes longer than we hoped, or when we perceive it to be longer than we expected, it can be tempting to wonder, am I doing something wrong? Did I miss a step? Is anything actually changing? Today, I want to talk about a phrase we hear so often, but sometimes struggle to live by, and that is to trust the process. Not because the process is always easy, it's not, or because the waiting feels very comfortable, because it doesn't. And not because we always understand what is happening, because we don't. We don't always understand the timelines to get through those difficult situations. But because the process still has purpose, that's why we continue on. If we haven't met before, my name is Terry Stirk. I am a wellness coach and an author. I serve women like you and like me, those who have experienced challenging seasons. My goal is to help you nurture wellness of body, mind, and spirit. Because we know things like cancer and many other traumas impact our whole being, our body, minds, and our spirit. So today, for Monday Motivation, we're talking about trusting that process while you're on the journey. I was inspired by a recent Yoga with Adriene practice that was called Trust the Process. I like to follow Yoga with Adriene on YouTube, and I respect her a lot. And her description of the practice points to the idea that yoga is about the journey, that we need not just focus on the destination and finishing, but we need to really engage in the journey and realize the destination will come eventually. But the journey is the sweet spot. That's where we can find the joy. You don't believe me, do you? Well, just stay with me right now. Adriene's yoga practice stayed with me the day I saw that. And so I wanted to share it with you because isn't that true of so many areas of our life? Not just the difficult times, but everything we do. We want the destination or we want the answer and we want it now. We want the result to those tests or we want the breakthrough. to feel like we've really accomplished something. We want the next chapter. But so much of life is lived in the process, in the journey. And since we spend so much time there, let's talk about how to appreciate the journey and trust the process. The image I chose for the message, if you didn't notice, the background was a soft stair step. And I wanted to use that image as our visual for today because so much in life is like walking, climbing stairs. And trusting the process feels a lot like that. We're climbing up, and sometimes that can be painful and difficult. Most of the time, we do not leap from the bottom step to the top step. I remember doing that when I was, a little kid, starting at the bottom, but jumping up 2 steps at a time or 3 steps at a time, and then falling down, skin knees or bumping my chin. I should have taken it 1 step at a time and enjoyed the journey to the top. We take 1 step, then another, and then another, and sometimes the steps are small. Sometimes they're steep. Sometimes we need to pause to catch our breath. We need rest. Sometimes we look up and think, how many more steps are there? Are we ever going to get there? And sometimes we look behind us and realize, wow, I've actually come further than I thought. That is the process. That is the journey. It's not always dramatic. It's not always as fast as we like, but sometimes it isn't even visible. We get to that top step and we wonder, how did I get here? But each step matters, and so we should pay attention. I think this is where many of us become discouraged. We want to see the whole staircase. We want to see the top. We want to know how many steps there are in the process. We want to know how long it will take to get there, to get through the process. We want a guarantee that if we choose to keep going, the outcome will be what we hoped for. But life does not usually give us the whole staircase, doesn't give us all the answers. So oftentimes we're walking those steps blindly without really knowing where we're headed. The doctors may tell us, but we don't really understand it. Most of the time, we're not invited to leap from the bottom to the top. We are invited to take the next step, the next honest step, the next faithful step, the next grounded step, the next courageous step, even if it is darkness or it feels dark. Sometimes it is simply the next quiet step forward will take us 1 step closer to that destination. So why is trusting the process so hard? Well, let's be honest. Trusting the process can sound lovely when it's a quote on a coffee mug or on a t-shirt. Trust the process. But living it every day is another thing entirely. It's hard to trust the process when you're tired or when you're feeling impatient or when you've already waited so long you just want this to end. It is hard to trust the process when you are doing your part, but others are not doing theirs. It is hard to trust the process when your body is asking for rest, but your journey isn't yet over. It's hard to trust the process when you have prayed, planned, worked, hoped, and still do not see the result. For women wellness seekers, I think this is especially important. Many women are carrying a lot. We carry responsibilities, relationships, expectations, family concerns, health concerns, emotional burdens, and sometimes those old stories we have not yet fully released. They keep coming back. We may look calm on the outside, but inside, we're asking, when will this get easier? Or will it? When will I feel like myself again? When will I know what to do? When will I finally finish this journey? But what if the process is not only about arriving? What if the process is also about becoming? It's about the journey. As I mentioned at the beginning, that's the sweet spot. That's where the growth is. This is where I want to slow down a bit because the journey may be taking longer than expected. But that does not mean nothing is happening. A seed does not look like much when you plant it in the dirt. It's underground. But there are things happening underground. Something is happening. That seed is blossoming, even though we can't see it yet. A staircase does not feel impressive when you're only on step 3, but step 3 still matters because you have to take one step at a time to get all the way to the top. You build strength and awareness, patience, and trust. The same is true in every part of our life. When the journey is long, we often focus on what has not changed. We focus on how far we still have to go, and we don't recognize how far we've come. But we may be missing what is being formed with us along the way. I think of a long car trip. It's a journey. And I remember always being impatient and tired. But maybe along the way you are learning, like on a big car trip, you're learning about yourself. Maybe you're having good one-on-one time with the driver and you get to just sit back and relax. And like when we go through difficulty, maybe you're learning to listen to your body better. Maybe you're learning to appreciate your body. Maybe you're learning to pause before reacting, to keep your emotions steady. Maybe you're learning to let go of what you can't control. Or you're learning that needing to rest, to take a nap, is not failure. That's productive, giving your body time to regenerate so that you can keep going. Maybe you're learning that your worth is not measured by speed. Maybe you're learning that you can find joy in the middle, not just at the finish line. The process is not wasted when it shapes your wisdom, or it teaches discernment, or it helps you become more grounded, more honest with yourself, more compassionate with yourself and others, and more whole. Trusting the process does not mean you're pretending, because the journey is difficult. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Trusting the process does not mean Pretending is easy. You don't pretend that the weight is making you crazy. It's just a long process. It does not mean you're denying disappointment, and it doesn't mean you're ignoring pain. It does not mean you're putting a smile on and saying everything is fine when everything is truly not fine. Trusting the process is not forcing yourself to be positive when your heart is weary. Trusting the process means telling the truth and still choosing to take that next step anyway. It means saying, this is hard, but I'm still here and I'm going to keep going. I do not understand everything, but I can breathe through this moment and then there will be a new moment. I can't control the whole outcome, but I can control where I'm at today. This one step, this faithful step, I can believe that I'm going to make it. I may not see the top of the staircase, but I can take the step in front of me. That's called courage. There is a steadiness that comes when we stop demanding the process move on our exact timeline. We can still have hopes and goals and plans. We can still take action, but we can let go of the pressure to control every outcome and just engage in the journey. Enjoy where we're at this moment in time. That does not come naturally for many of us, especially if we consider ourselves impatient. Many of us have learned to survive by staying alert, managing every detail, preparing for what might go wrong, and trying to keep everything together. So when we talk about trusting the process, we mean practice. Practice every step. A body, mind, and spirit practice. The body, let's begin with that. Some days the body feels strong. Other days it feels tired and fatigued. Some days it feels steady, while other days we wobble, we shake because we're scared or we're nervous. But the wobble is part of the process. The body often knows when we're trying to force what needs to unfold step by step. We feel it in the shoulders, the jaw, the stomach. Maybe it's a headache. We recognize that when we're breathing shallow or we feel fatigue. So one of the first ways we trust the process is by coming back to the body and asking, what is my body trying to tell me right now? Do I need to push or do I need to pause? Do I need rest? Do I need a break? Do I need movement? Do I need to take a walk? Or do I need stillness? Do I just need to sit and watch the sunrise or the sunset? Do I need action or do I need rest? Trusting the process begins with presence. Here, now, this breath, this step. As we talk about our mind on that journey, the mind likes certainty. The mind likes plans and explanations and timelines and control. So that's why it feels difficult. And there's nothing wrong with planning. Planning can be wise. Preparation is always helpful. But sometimes our desire for certainty creates pressure. We want to know, when will this end? We imagine every possible outcome. We rehearse conversations and replay past experiences. We try to predict the future. And we exhaust ourselves by trying to control what has not even happened yet. Trusting the process asks the mind to loosen its grip. It asks us to stop demanding full certainty before taking that next step. It means take a faithful journey. Believe that the next step is the right one to take. Sometimes peace comes when we stop asking, how will this journey unfold? And instead start asking, what is the next step I need to take today? That question is powerful. What is the next step? Maybe it is forgiving yourself for not having everything figured out. Trusting what you cannot see is hard. So let's talk about the spirit. For those of us who walk by faith, trusting the process also means trusting that God is at work and that even when we cannot see the full picture, we understand that He's at work and it's His timeline, not ours. One of the scriptures that fits so beautifully here is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. It reminds us that we are not asked to lean only on our own understanding. And that is good news, because our own understanding is often limited by what we can see right now. Now, I know some delays are extremely painful. Some waiting seasons are very heavy and long. Some circumstances are not what we would have chosen. Most of them, in fact. But I do believe that even in seasons when we don't understand, there is still a purpose. There's still a process to follow. Sometimes the purpose is not in the circumstance itself, but it's in all the growing we can do during the journey through it. We come out learning endurance and compassion and resilience, humility, discernment, strength, patience, most of all, hope. And sometimes, years later, we look back and see the process formed something in us we could not have received any other way. The journey helped us grow. So as we close today, I want you to think about one area of your life where the journey has taken longer than you expected. It maybe tested your patience. Maybe it created worry and anxiety. What is the next faithful step or the next whole staircase that you need to take? Trusting the process does not mean pretending the wait is easy or comfortable. It means believing the process still has purpose. That's why we engage in the journey and keep going day by day, step by step. Later this week, I'll share a separate guided meditation to help you practice this in your body. Not just understand it in your mind. We'll look at that mind-body connection in this meditation. We'll slow down, breathe, soften, and remember that we do have to climb the whole staircase, but only one step today. So look for that in the next couple of days. And until then, take the next faithful step. Trust the process, whatever it may be. The process still has purpose. So look for the joy every day. As always, I'm cheering you on.